There still is a country in Europe today that is being led by an autocrat politician. A country where political dissent and where freedom of speech are practically forbidden, and where the death penalty is still being practiced in 2021. Belarus made global headlines last summer when observers from around the globe reported widespread instances of election fraud, as longtime leader Alexander Lukashenko went on to declare victory for a sixth consecutive term. His main challenger was opposition presidential candidate Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, who, after the vote and amid massive protests against Lukashenko in the capital Minsk, started to prepare for a peaceful transfer of power last August. Less than a year later, she is living in exile in Lithuania today. Welcome to the Global Media Forum, Mrs. Tikhanovskaya.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. First things first. You weren't originally planning to challenge Lukashenko yourself last year. Your husband was running, and then he was arrested for his opposition position, which I can only imagine must be terrifying to witness. You then decided to run in his place. Why?
You know, my first step was only for love to my husband. When he was deprived of opportunity to run for presidency because of he was detained, specially detained. So, I needed to prove to him, first of all, that I'm his wife. His values are values for me as well. So just to support me, I gave my documents. But then when I saw all those people who came to support me, who believed me, all those people, they were following, of course, my husband, because I was only wife at that moment. But it was unity of people that followed me, that appreciated my step. I couldn't, behave in differently, And then I joined this movement of Belarusian people and was with them till the election.
Your love for your husband is inspiring, and your country, unfortunately, was a country that we never used to hear much from about in the news, mainly because of Lukashenko's isolationist policies. People like yourself lived in the shadow of this autocratic regime for decades. But what do you think the watershed moment was that made so many people unite against the autocratic leader in this election last year and along your side? And how did the opposition manage to unite together against him so strongly?
Okay, first of all, I have to say that there are no opposition in Belarus. There is regime, very small group of people, and the rest of people, majority. And I think that a lot of things influenced people. First of all, people were tired of this dictatorship. There were always resistance to dictatorship, but it was it were small groups of people and ordinary people who were not in politics. They discussed regime behind the doors in their kitchens, because they were always scared by the methods regime used against their opponents, let's say so. But first of all, new generation grew up. New generation that managed to see the world, to see countries that are just hundreds of kilometers of our country, and they live differently. They live in a democratic country. They are happy in their country. So, new generation started to think that, we also can have the same level of life, and we really managed to change everything. And regime lately, when COVID came, they were so irrespectful towards people. When all the world was supporting people in their countries, Lukashenko told that there is no COVID. Do you see it? No, I don't see it. Doesn't exist, and you can treat yourself with tractors and vodka. It was so irrespectful and disgusting, that people step by step started to realize that, look, we don't want to live in this country. And the third aspect, I think, that new people appeared who used internet opportunities, YouTube opportunities to show the truth. Like my husband, he traveled in small cities, visited people and gave them word. And people saw that, look, there are strong people, a strong person who tells the truth. So I also want to be the same. And all these steps, and when in pre-election campaign, Lukashenko jailed or sent to exile all the alternative candidates, people understood, look, this is the red line. We have to, and all those people saw each other's eyes during these lines to give signature for candidates, that we at first time maybe saw how many of us, that we are the majority and we are united. And so we understood that we are great strength in this country.
You mentioned a number of factors there that bound people together against the president, but what about the media? There is, of course, a lot of propaganda in Belarus and quite little access to truly free media. What role can international news organizations like DW play in strengthening democracy in your country, providing a counterweight to all the deliberate misinformation in Belarus?
You're right. We in Belarus, we have traditional media like newspapers or different websites like Tutbay, but started to appear alternative journalists like YouTube bloggers, Telegram bloggers, who started to speak openly. Most of them were in different countries because it's much safer to broadcast from abroad. But as for my husband, he was inside the country. And this opened eyes to people, because, for example, Tutbay, they were they didn't judge anybody. They just gave facts, gave information. But new people who found strength to tell the truth, they were like alternative speakers. They were vocal, and of course, such media portals as Deutsche Welle informed people about situation in Belarus, and so as they are, thanks to internet, they were like people have access to this mass media. So people step by step started to realize how journalism is important, as traditional, so emerging on you.
And what else can we do? What can other countries around the world contribute to help Belarus and its people? How can the international community be part of this difficult journey towards democracy and pluralism that your nation is on? And how can we turn this major disruption you're in into an opportunity for change and for healing?
Now, if you take journalism, worldwide journalism, so its main task to tell the truth and to keep Belarus on agenda, because I understand rules of journalism. If you have picture, if you have this breaking news, you give this you are broadcasting this. And it's a pity then when our demonstrations, because of violence and tortures, disappeared gradually from the streets, journalists a little bit lost interest to Belarus. This shouldn't be so. Violence in Belarus is still existing. People are suffering, people are being tortured. So you have to, tell about Belarus all the time. And from the side of journalists, it will be the best contribution to the situation. As for political leaders and parliamentarians and other international organizations, of course, they have to keep Belarus on agenda on their level, and to, on the one hand, to do everything to put pressure on the regime, and on the other hand, to support people on the ground, including mass media, because mass media is suffering a lot. And so as we need information, we need truth about Belarus, so we need support. And one more, in Belarus, citizen journalism appeared. When people collect information and send it to big portals, and they only just describe their situation. And these citizen journalists also have to be supported. And the third point is justice. We are looking for justice. We have a full lawlessness in Belarus, but so many crimes have been submitted from the side of the regime, and we have to collect the information. We have to collect these crimes and start to investigate them for future, to be easier, to bring those people to trial. And journalists have to be vocal about all these three pillars: pressure, assistance and justice.
Okay, and one last question, and this is about journalism. What are your thoughts on the arrest of dissident journalist Roman Protasevich, which sent shockwaves around the world last month and resulted practically in a global ban on your country's airspace?
You see how important journalists are, that regime landed the whole plane with innocent people, with foreigners on the board just to kidnap one journalist. It means that regime is afraid of truth. And it was, we were shocked with this, and every journalist now a target in Belarus. Now, journalist West or Beige is target for regime. So many local newspapers were closed because of interview with Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, or when they have a couple of lines, about protest movement and all this stuff. And Roman, we really sorry for him, because we understand in what situation he is now. He's been tortured there for sure. And we see the other side of propaganda journalism, how they give this information. In their movies, they humiliate people, they swear people, and it's such a big difference between independent journalistic and propaganda. So we really hope that journalists all over the world stand up to support Roman and other journalists. Since August, 550 journalists were repressed, and now 27 are in jail. So you, journalist community, have to be too vocal about this and stand up with Belarusians.
Thank you. Thank you for those words, Mrs. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, and for joining us today, for sharing your experience in this past year, and for fighting for freedom in your country. We genuinely wish you and the people of Belarus all the best.
Thank you, Deutsche Welle.